I spend my life researching and teaching people how to live a powerful life. I am a believer. I stand for the transformation of humanity. I have found my purpose. My name is Gabrielle McGee, and I am the Rebellious Therapist. So welcome to the Rebellious Therapist, Season 2, Episode 9. And today's session is a very interesting one because it really puts the spotlight on ourselves. And the subject is about the betrayal of ourselves, betrayal of self. So I want to, first of all, welcome Ciara back from America. I know you've been here for 10 days and had a ball with your partner, Brendan. So tell me, how did you enjoy your 10 days in Ireland and how did it all work out for Brendan? It was his first time.
Yes, it was amazing. As I said, the last time you recorded, I was actually on the Aran Islands. So very lack of Wi-Fi and connection. I couldn't be there, but it was an experience like no other. I experienced Ireland from a new lens, like as a tourist, which is very different from growing up there.
Yeah.
And I got a newfound respect and kind of appreciation for the beauty and kind of feel of Ireland. And even in all the rain and everything, it's just when you go to these like remote places, it's honestly wild that life exists there, and it's very intriguing.
Wow.
And I just loved it, and Brendan loved it as well. Yes, of course. Cool. Thought it was amazing. And then for me to see it through his eyes kind of even reinforced, the
beauty of it.
Yeah. We're on to something here, like in terms of a place.
Yeah, wow. Cool.
Yeah.
So, and it's just the charm that comes out and the wit.
The charm, that's it. Yeah, maybe that's the word.
So cool. Great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're back now in the Hamptons in Montauk.
Yes.
So back to life again, Ciara. So yes, it was. So what I want to say is it was really interesting when we were having a discussion during the week of the topics that we think we want to cover next, and I said to you about betrayal trauma, or betrayal trauma, but also betrayal of ourselves, and you were saying more about that because it was like really vague for you as a subject, but that's not unusual, because we're very strong at looking at who betrayed us in the external world. And people do. And there's a lot of that happens. But what we forget to look at is ourselves, how we betray ourselves and how we ignore stuff and parts of our life that's off. And we continue to maybe, ignore that. For whatever reason, we look at the reasons as we go forward in this podcast, but we actually don't even understand or realize that actually we betray ourselves more than anyone outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
So it's
I think, what we're seeing online and social kind of conversation is how to get over betrayal in terms of another person or maybe you betrayed somebody that's outside of yourself.
Exactly.
The conversation never really reflects what we're about to talk about now, which is kind of zoning in on how you betray yourself.
Yeah, and different, the different areas of the life that, you might be fine in one area, but then there might be another area where you're completely betraying yourself. And you did go through a list.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the list that we feel the different areas of life we want to sort of cover for people to sort of check and do a checklist maybe as we do this podcast, that, people can have a pen and paper and just jot down and see, okay, where am I betraying? Where do I need to bring my integrity back? Where am I out of
kind of maybe just
myself?
kind of self-reflect on these areas, and if you are betraying yourself. And it's like you said, explain to me when I said say more, it's like being dishonest with yourself. Like where are you selling yourself short in your life?
Correct.
It can show up as like this nagging feeling that you should be doing this, but you're not. For me, it's kind of exercise is the main thing, which is my physical health. Like I know every day I should wake up and exercise, but I don't. So I'm betraying myself and my health because of that inside of that.
Yes. I mean, I agree with you, because that's one of my areas at the moment that this year is my year to go back to fitness again and get healthier. Because last year my health sort of went down a bit, and it's like, okay, so that's an out of integrity for me. So I'm not honoring myself in that.
Yeah.
So what I have to do, I have to go to pull it back. And again, look at the process and procedures that I got to put in place to then set the goal and honor that goal and honor myself in that goal to get to the point, in the next few months where my integrity is back in with my fitness and health again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it takes a little bit of courage, don't you think, to look at it? Because you sort of, there's a resistance whenever something's out of integrity, right? Integrity.
Yeah.
And I'll explain about integrity, the word, right? So integrity is about honoring yourself as your word.
Yeah.
So you've only got your word. So when you say something, right, and you don't carry that through, then your integrity's out. Now, it's not good or bad. It's just your integrity's out of line. Then you have a loss of power. And this is what really is important. You have a loss of power if you're not aligned with what you're doing or what you've promised yourself or someone else that you would sort of do in the moments or days, or like, it's like making a promise and then ignoring that. Then you have an internal process of a loss, and a lot of people feel weak. They feel fed up with themselves. They feel angry with themselves. So it's got a massive side effect. It's like the consequences of this is quite serious. And it's probably one of the most serious subjects we've ever covered. And the most important
the consequence
subject
is the quality of your life. And like, we only get one. So
yeah, exactly. and the quality of the relationship with yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then, I get my clients coming on and saying, how can I have more confidence? How do I, get more powerful? Then, it's not a recipe or something you mix up and you drink and it's there. It's all about how are you feeling? How are you behaving? And how are you actually, your actions around yourself is where that needs to be really exposed, looked at, brave enough to really tell yourself the truth and then do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it sounds easy, but not so easy whenever you're sort of resisting all the stuff, or you got, different behaviors from childhood that you actually survive from. So if you're someone who doesn't want to say, you want something or you don't want to speak your truth, because as a child that would be dangerous. So now we've got to really learn as adults how to do that.
Yeah.
So we've got to retrain ourselves how to be, powerful as adults, no matter what the circumstances was whenever we were children. That's what therapy is for. To complete that stuff and get it out of your future and even in the present moment, to not live from there.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
So we'll just give a list of all the places where areas in your life that you could be betraying yourself in.
Yeah.
So your physical health, which we just spoke about, your emotional and mental health. Do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Give an example.
I always talk about emotional and mental is different, right? Even though people have it collapsed. A lot of times people think they're got a mental health issue, which is actually just emotional health, which is not just emotional health, but because we've all got to deal with our emotional health. Now, the mental health is a bit, it's a fine line, but it crosses over to something different. And that will be
so we'll start with the emotional health.
The emotional health will be, that you feeling frustrated with yourself because you hadn't spoken up in the meeting from work, or you hadn't delivered something that you wanted to because you were scared or you're anxious. So that's all the emotional part. Or, you're in a relationship and you don't want to say, look, I'm not happy in this relationship because I'm not getting my needs met, or, you promise to be a certain way, or you promise to do something in this relationship, and you start tolerating that. Then the emotional health comes after, when you feel frustrated, pissed off, withdrawn, and that's when the emotional health starts kicking in.
So then would you say you start to betray yourself when you don't honor that frustration and do something to change it?
Correct. Or just, actually even voice it. Even by voicing it, then you're standing for something within yourself and standing for yourself.
Yeah.
So the betrayal comes with not speaking about it, not talking about it, or not, being scared of the consequences. So people are always scared of consequences, right? So that will be scared of people leaving them, people ignoring them, people giving them the silent treatment, people giving them, or being pissed off with them. So there's always the fear is always driven by the consequences. But that'll be the consequences that the child has learned, probably from mom, dad, or whatever the dynamic was.
Primary caretaker.
Yeah, or not being heard, because a lot of times we sort of don't hear children that well, because, it's just we don't have that training to hear what, or we sort of think, and we don't think this so much now, but in them days we thought children didn't understand. That was a big one.
They weren't aware,
Yeah, they wouldn't be aware, they wouldn't understand. And it's just like, we know best. Let's, do what I think they need, and then everything gets ignored. Their needs get ignored. They don't be seen. So then as adults, that's what they've learned to survive.
To deny their emotions or not voice their emotions or how they're feeling in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So then what about mental health?
So mental health is more in the, some of the depressions. Some of the depressions lies in to me in emotional, but then there's a fine line where some of the depression goes into mental health, and then you got just schizophrenia. It's all the sort of clinical stuff to me. I define as more mental health.
Okay.
It's really important, I think, to draw that line, because people are such a taboo subject, and even the meaning of mental health is so collapsed to just one thing, and it's not.
Yeah.
And then people get scared of it, and in Ireland we have such a taboo with it, even though we're talking about it more open, and we're pushing it through the social media, but actually we've got quite a bit to go.
So would a betrayal of yourself with regards to your mental health maybe not be, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, like not discussing a diagnosis that you may have got,
correct,
or, standing into your ADHD kind of, or something. Well, is that right?
That's absolutely 100%. I get people talking about, I've been diagnosed with ADHD or dyslexia. I mean, I'm in this conversation this week with people, and it's really interesting, the actual listening for dyslexia and ADHD and everything that is misunderstood. It looks like they have, that they're not intellectual. It's all those sort of very old traditional ways of looking at it, and uneducated ways of actually looking at it. So when people get diagnosed, they keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
They won't even tell their partner.
And that's a form of betraying yourself.
It's absolutely 100% betrayal. But also, it's a serious issue. If you function like that and you're not ready to inform your environment how to interact with you, then it's an absolute, you can see at the level that the betrayal lies inside of, not being able to, the shame that's involved. Why? I wouldn't have no idea, because it's misunderstood.
Yeah.
So that's very much what we need to be pushing forward and educating everyone around. It's like, I'm dyslexic, right? But I also think, and I am, I think I've some sensory stuff going on as well, right? But I can't wait to find out. But then I've come a long way with being diagnosed with dyslexia and working through all this stuff. And I educate everybody how to be around me now, how to give me information, how to, you know, if people are giving me information that I can't take it in a linear, like the neurological response is not there for the way they're giving me the information, then I can direct them how to. So any of the spectrum stuff, it's really important to understand it. But what I find is people think, people have an opinion of it and a misunderstanding of it, and that keeps also people really hidden and shameful of actually talking about it.
Yeah. So the way you said there, you educate people around you. That's the opposite of betraying yourself. That's kind of honoring yourself.
That's honor.
Would you say that's right?
Yeah, that's absolute honor. So
that's what we're striving for here, is like figuring out how you're betraying yourself and then understanding how to honor yourself. Then that's a perfect example that you just gave us.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
That's
and
amazing.
And the question, the greatest question I always give my clients to sort of live with, does this honor me? That's how you find out. If you really want to know, how do I find out if I'm betraying myself or not? So whatever you want to do, check it. Your gut's going to tell you right away. First of all, your gut is your greatest sort of measure. And if there's something off, then the next question you've got, does this honor me? And it gives you access.
Love it.
Yes.
So spiritually, how do we betray ourselves?
Spiritually, right? So it depends on your spiritual belief, right? If I have a spiritual belief like that, I want to be more connected with nature and meditate and all the sort of different ways that I fulfill myself spiritually, then I'm running off to do something else. I'm running into the town, to the shops, to the the bar, or distracting myself, or somebody calls me and said, do you want to go away for a weekend and whatever, right? But at that point, I'm betraying myself. Because what I need at that point is to get the shoes off, get into the beach, the forest, whatever it looks like, and really reconnect with myself.
That's so interesting, because obviously over the last couple of years, my morning routine has become, quite important to me in terms of making sure at least I meditate, like for 10 minutes. It doesn't matter if I get everything else done or not. But then with my partner now, on the mornings that maybe we're both off together and, it's time to get up and do something, I kind of had to I probably did skip it a few times at the start. There I am, dishonoring, betraying myself. And then I kind of had to, as you said, educate him on how important this is, to the point that now he asks, how long is your stuff going to take? Or what do we call it? Call it something like bits or routine or whatever you're going to do. So then he has to time his morning to my morning, so that then we're both ready at the same time, because he knows that how important that is to me. So if I just gave up my meditation practice because of a relationship, that would be the ultimate betrayal of myself.
Totally.
In spiritual terms.
Absolutely. And at that point, you start becoming resentful, pissed off, and distracted, and it goes the wrong direction. And then he starts to suffer.
Yeah.
So Brenda's been really smart there to let you go and do your bits.
Yeah. And that came in the form of a boundary, which is, again, we'll get to, is how you do, you implement good boundaries. And it was like, right, this is important to me, and this is something that I have to do every morning. Yes, I can cut it short on the mornings that we're off, and that's fine by me, but I need to at least do my 10 minutes meditation.
Yeah.
So I don't know, that may be something to think about in your...
It can be as simple as, right, for me, I loved going out to a restaurant, sitting down with my partner, having something to eat, and my partner works away a lot, so when he comes home, he wants to be at home. So it goes out of existence very quickly, right? I give up my power there sometimes, and then think, oh, hold on a minute. So then I've got to sort of stick my foot down, do a bit of tapping and dancing, and say, right, we're on our way out on Saturday night at 8 o'clock or whatever it looks like, or lunchtime. This is what's happening. And then, because if I don't do that, then I betray myself, but also I get really resentful while he is just there for maybe 48 hours or whatever. So
yeah, because in that moment, like if we're just giving up what's important to us and betraying ourselves, they don't know that. So they just take this as this is the norm. So, and then we go off and we create this big like conflict with ourselves and them then, and then come back like a bitch, basically. So, so it's very important to like we said, always honor yourself, because everybody's gonna, benefit from that. Yeah, it might be uncomfortable at the start, maybe expressing a need or a desire that maybe goes against kind of the timeline of what your partner wants to do. But at the end of the day, it's only going to create harmony, like in the relationship.
But more important, you see, if I give up on myself at that point, I start not liking myself. It doesn't feel good. But also I turn that stuff in on myself and start hating myself for being weak or, not talking or not getting what part of my needs are, like something that's important to me. And it's really simple. I'm not complex at all. I'm a really simple person to deal with, right? It might be just, it's important just to have that 2 hours in the week. That's all I need. So if I give up on those 2 hours, my God, can you imagine how I am actually really totally in denial of my needs?
Yeah. And then, like you said, you start not liking yourself, and then that probably leads to not liking the relationship. Then that leads to not liking the other person. It's just like a spiral effect.
That projects onto the world as well.
Yeah.
Because then you get into a mood, or you get pissed off yourself, then you're pissed off with everything around you as well. It's amazing. Amazing. Go ahead, Ciara.
No, I was just saying, like we started on spiritual there, and then we kind of went into a tangent, but that actually brings us into kind of the next, which is how, like, that was perfect examples of how you betray yourself in relationships, especially like romantic relationships.
Yeah.
And then there's also relationships with your friends, with your work, and with your family. So is there anything you want to speak to on that?
Well, family is a big one, right? So family is where the core stuff all happened, right? So that's even a bigger pull. My clients really struggle with this stuff, right? The biggest questions I get is, how I need to go home at Christmas, and I don't want to be there, and I don't want to be there that long, and all the traditions that I can't be bothered with anymore, and I have no voice, or I don't want to ignore, and I don't want to annoy. They'll be upset with me, they'll be angry with me, and that's when we regress to being a child. Mostly around the regression for the child to be the child totally acts out in the family situations.
Would you say that the dynamic in your family or your primary caretakers or whatever that may look like is where you learned how to betray yourself?
That is where all the betrayal has been. Yeah, that's where it's been taught, where you've given yourself up, not by choice, but by survival.
Yes.
So that's where you've learned all the habits of survival. Now, we're only talking about survival. Sometimes, I might give in to something just to have an easier life without the consequences, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm used to compromising in the family. And sometimes that works for me, and sometimes it doesn't work for me. And a lot of times it doesn't work for me. But when you have a conscious sort of view on it, and you've done enough work, then you have a choice whether you're going to compromise or not.
Yeah.
But if you're compromising, within the family, or like people who have sisters or brothers, there's all the different dynamics that went on in the family that still happen today. And what you'll find is, we touched on work. When you're working on like a situation with people in offices, or any situation of work, you are taking some of those traits to work with you as well, because that becomes a lot of the transference and projection of your family and how you behave in the family. You take it to work. You take it, mostly to work and to friends.
So, for example, like you're asked to stay work an hour late.
Yeah.
But you know that you're going to miss your gym class if you do.
Correct. But you have no voice. So if you're in a family where you couldn't speak up, or, you didn't have permission to talk or be heard, you're staying. That's you're going to be staying for the hour.
And then you're betraying your physical health.
Everything.
And again, your exercise can tie into emotional health as well. So like you're betraying all parts of yourself for what? For your boss, for that extra hour of, it's like, it's really so, and obviously you have to, when push comes to shove, we all have to
yes,
stay.
Yes, of course, you got to compromise.
But it's if you're doing, compromise, like you said, but if you're doing it on a consistent basis and you're doing it resentfully and you're starting to like, get that nagging feeling that this doesn't feel right, then that ultimately means that you're betraying yourself.
Totally, that's your sign, right?
That's your sign, yeah.
Yeah, so you when you feel this stuff, that'll be something that you got to start questioning, because the feelings will not lie. But then it's like, okay, so why am I feeling this way? So it's, where did I feel this before, and why?
And then one last one that time. How do you betray yourself with your time?
Yes.
So I think personally for me, where I'm betraying myself in my life right now with my time is how much time I spend scrolling.
Mine's is a particular type of scroll. Mine's is TikTok.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it's TikTok.
I've given up on the rest. No, it's all TikTok now.
Oh God, sorry. There's the gardener. Waving in at me. So yes, what do we say to that?
That's a good one. I think everyone will definitely have
connect with that
thing going on, right? So that's when we have to get really, really disciplined, right? It's like you got to get really clear what works. It's not about not scrolling on TikTok, but it's not scrolling when you should have a deadline somewhere, or you should be somewhere, or you should be exercising, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I will scroll before I go and exercise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's about, and do you know what? Another way of really holding yourself to account is to get your environment involved. Example, if I said to you, Ciara, look, I need you to be a committed listener for this particular thing that I want to do. I want to, get my health back on track. So if you're a committed listener, you're committed to hearing the, the sort of results I'm getting, or, the action I'm taking. So I've set you up. So then I'm not it's not going to be that easy for me to hide and not do it, because we're very good at giving up on ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you have Brendan set up in the mornings to be, for you to say whatever you want in the mornings, a particular thing that he, checks in with you.
Yeah.
Now that's a difficult one. That's one of the most difficult ones that I find, because then people start holding you to account.
He is already like anti-TikTok anyways, but he doesn't look at his phone at all. But this is the impact of how I'm betraying myself, like in my time and in actually my emotional and emotional health as well. He'll walk out of the room and say he'll be gone for 5 minutes, and he'll know that I'm on my phone, so I'm completely zoned out. And then he'll come back in, and he might have left me very happy and like content. He'll come back in, and I'll be roaring, crying at a TikTok,
killing me. No,
like it happened the other night. I was like bawling my eyes out, crying at a TikTok. So it's like he's like, this cannot be healthy for your emotions, and how you're just like completely like fine 1 minute and then cry in the next minute. So it's like, over for what? Like really for what? You know?
I haven't had that experience in TikTok.
Oh my God. I don't know how you haven't cried at TikToks yet.
I just laugh. All I get is a laugh. I mean, I spend just laughing at TikTok. It's mostly Donald Trump.
Yeah, well, I better get my algorithm sorted then.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
But
can you see the impact?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
It's like
for me, it's a distraction, but it's another level for you, because it's
an
addiction. It evokes a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So inside of that, Ciara, where is the betrayal for you?
The betrayal is obviously like I could have spent that time doing something way more productive or better for my
emotional
mental and emotional health. And I just could have done something more worthwhile. And that's where then I'm like, I hit off it and I'm like, what was all that for? Or why am I? Because sometimes it will go into my sleep too at nighttime. If I don't know how to stop scrolling, it'll be like, right, I can't sleep or I feel awake now. And I know it's something I need to get a handle of. It's just doing it is the issue.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. But do you see how sort of subtle it looks?
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to understand. This stuff's, it looks like it's a subtle conversation, but actually it can have a huge impact.
For sure.
Once you make that list, once you make a list of the things that where your integrity's out or where you're sort of betraying yourself, then that's a pretty serious sort of view on your life at that point. And if you have a loss of power in life, then that list is really important, to sort of get on top of. Because my issue with TikTok's not the same as yours.
Yeah.
Right? But then my issue will be different with something else where you won't have that issue. So it's also it's a very, very personal and individual sort of relationship for whatever it is,
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. What else do we want to say about that? Because we're nearly at the end.
I think one of the questions here says, in all of this betrayal of ourselves and like where in areas that we are betraying ourselves, you say we have to look at what are we ignoring.
Yeah.
There's something we're ignoring internally and that needs to be worked on. So I don't know if you want to speak to that a little bit.
Well, it will be something, yeah. Like, I mean, if I want to, example, right? If we just go back to, if you don't mind going back to the point where, you were happy when Brendan walked out of the room. But when he walked back, then again, you were really upset. So then at that point that to me is you training yourself into upset rather than training yourself to be happy. Right? Because it's all, you're training yourself how to be in the world. You're training your emotional world. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to a certain extent. And this is not to offset the blame, but like TikTok is a monster. And the more you learn about it, the more you realize like we are at the hands of this now. And I guess my algorithm, yes, has led me to some upsetting TikToks that maybe I held on for too long. So I just continue to watch this one.
Yeah, but guess what? Guess what you're doing now? That's so brilliant, right? You just go right on to defend, right? And deny yourself. This is the betrayal now.
Okay.
Right, because what we're saying is the impact, right? So the impact is it changes your mood, right?
Yes, exactly. That's it. Ultimately, it changes my mood, and that's hands
your
down.
Yeah, but that's your mood. I might look at it might not change my mood. But inside of the betrayal, inside of that, Ciara, is you are betraying yourself at that point to you're driving yourself into a mood, into an upset, right?
Yeah.
Rather than driving yourself into, freedom, happiness.
Yeah.
That's a habit. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And then them habits become addictions.
Yeah.
So that's what you got to watch. That's where the level, forget about, the social media. We've got choices, right? We know how it all works. We know we're very controlled by it. We watched all the documentaries. We do know.
Yeah.
If we didn't know it, that would be the issue.
Yeah.
So then we have a choice, right? And in that choice, you get to betray yourself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where it becomes really interesting because, we get up in the morning, we have to train ourselves to be happy in the morning because most people get up and they're tired, they're not feeling it, all of that. But we've trained ourselves to be that way, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at TikTok example, and I don't want to go on about TikTok but I think it's a great example, right?
Yeah.
I only look at TikTok because it makes me laugh, right? But if it's making me cry, I ain't going to lift that. But that's a boundary I have for myself.
Yeah.
Right? But I have also a choice in that.
Yeah.
No.
So on the other side of that, then, would you say that you are addicted to the happiness that TikTok gives you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to be addicted to happiness
rather than
someone's going to make me miserable, right? Yes. Do you know what I mean? There's good addictions. No, there's good addictions, right? I just have to learn how to get addicted to exercise again.
Yeah. Same. Learn how to put down the fucking...
Yeah. Right?
Okay,
so
I get it now.
It's all of that, but it's just like as a constant inquiry. It's a daily inquiry, and some of it can be really, really, really massively important for us moving into a happier life.
Yeah, for sure.
So cool. That was fun.
That was
fun about your TikTok.
I didn't expect it to go there, even though I do know it's an emotional roller coaster. So I need to just put it down.
Or get some of the ones that I've got up here. It's like cool. So thank you everybody for listening. Please take this serious, is what I say. Please, it's more important.
Though we were having a joke about it.
Yeah, we started making it light, but actually it's much deeper and more important than we think it is. So yeah, let us know if you got a lot from this podcast. And until the next time, thanks for listening, and thank you, Ciara.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go on TikTok.
I spend my life researching and teaching people how to live a powerful life. I am a believer. I stand for the transformation of humanity. I have found my purpose. My name is Gabrielle McGee, and I am the Rebellious therapist.